All right, so on this section, we're understanding techniques. Now, there's several techniques listed here. The first one is overlapping. And with overlapping, we're blending colors over one another to create a completely new color. This is where we're going to be doing the overlapping techniques. Now, we also have gradients, which is slowly adding color pressure to create a color value scale in the bottom left. The warm gray technique, coloring lightly with black in the shaded area, then overlapping the color created a shaded version of the hue, similar to what we did up there, creating that warm gray technique. And burnishing, which is using pressure to mix the overlapped colors, or a colorless blender. That technique of burnishing we've already done when we created our tertiary colors. All right, so with section 1, we're using the overlapping technique. We're going to apply 2 hues in the outer edges of the rings. So the hues, again, they're any 2 colors that we can think of from our colored pencil set. So these are what I like to use for this assignment, are random colors. I just grabbed a bunch of non-specific colors for this, not prismatics, they're all the other colors that are in the colored pencil set. Obviously, we know what color we're going to get if we use red and yellow to overlap one another. We know we're going to get orange. So I'm going to use any 2 colors that are random colors in the first one, and then any 2 random colors in the second one. So the same thing applies when you're putting the values in. I'm going to put the values in with medium pressure in the outside of the rings. And this is a lighter value than the other random pencil that I selected. So when I put the darker value in where they overlap, I always want to put the darker value down first in the overlap section. And then when I'm doing the lighter value, I'm going to put it over top, and it's going to create the new color in the middle. And with that, you can see the new color created in the middle. So now when I pick my other 2 random colors, I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to use a darker value first, and then the lighter value, and where they overlap, I'm going to create a completely new color in the middle. All right, section 2. This is using the gradient and warm gray technique. So the gradient's going to be on the left in this ellipse, and the warm gray technique is going to be in the ellipse on the right. So be aware of the light source direction. How do we know what direction the light source is coming? Well, the easiest way is to look at the cast shadow. So I can see the cast shadow is bottom left. That means the light source is coming top right. On the right-hand side, I can see it's going bottom right. That means the light source is top left. Obviously, in the center one there, it would be coming directly from the top because the cast shadow is directly below the width of the form. I can see also that the way the light affects the surface is concentric, so the movement of the pencil needs to follow the shape of the form. So as I start to put the values in here, I need to think of a 0 value, and the 0 value is going to be where the light source is hitting the form directly. So I'm going to put in a really, really soft, faint elliptical shape that's going to be my 0 value. And then out from there, I'm going to use the side of the colored pencil, holding it near the back, and slowly build the value light to dark. And then as I get away from the light source, I'm going to increase pressure so much so that by the time I'm at the bottom of the form, it's going to be the rich, intense version of that color. As I'm shading, I also need to make sure that I'm maintaining the contour of the form by following those curved lines, the curved shape of the ellipse. So now down at this area is where I'm going to have the most intense version of the color because it's furthest from the light. So I'm just going to use the pencil and go really, really intense with the amount of pressure that I'm putting into it without breaking the pencil point. And then I'm going to slowly fade the medium values of that color into that dark by adding a little bit of pressure, but not as much as I have at the bottom part of the form. Slowly building all the way out so I have a nice smooth transition from the solid intense version of the color to the light transitional value version of that color. Now with the warm gray technique, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the left, but now in the ellipse on the right, apply a little black, lightly at the bottom of the shape, opposite the light source. Okay, so the first thing I got to do is use my black color pencil, opposite the light source, and then just put a little bit of the warm gray technique in the bottom edge of the ellipse to create a little bit more of a distinct overlap shadow. It's going to be a richer shadow than what we did on the one on the left. And again, it needs to follow the elliptical shape, opposite from the light source with a little light pressure. Next, it says apply the hue to the top of the shape and blend the two together, creating an implied shadow. So basically the same thing I did on the other one. Start with the 0 value at the light source, and then slowly build pressure as I work my way out. When I get to the overlap area, you'll see how the color intensifies and creates a shaded version of whatever hue I'm using, creating a little bit more of a rich, more high contrast style shadow. With that nice smooth transition created, you can see the higher contrast shadow on that green. Now I'm just going to put in my cast shadow on both. If I didn't already do it on the one on the left, I'm just going to put the cast shadow in below to really create the idea of that object sitting in and on a surface.